Only 15% of worldwide employees feel engaged in their workplace. Yes, you heard me correctly. 15. 1-5. I'm Marina Morgan, an entrepreneur and the founder of a boutique organizational psychology agency, the Morgan Impact in Silicon Valley. On this channel, we discuss the most relevant knowledge and practices that have helped me and my client build resilience and grow their businesses even in the most challenging and unpredictable times. And today we will speak about the motivation from the both sides, from the side of the employee and from the side of the founders or entrepreneurs. There are a lot of different ways how to interpret this information, and a lot of that depends on which side of the management else you are on. If you are an employee, you should understand that those feelings you are having are normal. This is the average situation. Feeling sometimes engaged with your workplace is their rule, not exception. If you are felt guilty or unprofessional about feeling that way, you shouldn't. It's how the overwhelming majority of you feel. Consequently, 81% of employees are considering leaving their jobs for better offers right now, at that moment. That's a lot of things, but it's not a coincidence. Here, I'd like you to look at the graph with me for a minute. Some of you may have seen this before. You'll notice that until 1970, the marriage between real hourly wage compensation and labor productivity is largely intact. But as time passed on toward today's date, you'll see the schism between the two keep increasing. What does that mean? In simple terms, you feel that you're producing a lot more than your parents and grandparents even did for your wage and aren't compensatory with your output. And this course isn't likely to change anytime soon. Everything changing, we are soaking a huge amount of the information and feel that we are producing much more than in the past. This is just reality that we are living. Also, I want to preemptively address the specific objection. Of course, we are feeling engaged. We are not being paid enough. I'm not here to dispute wage fairness. What I'm saying is that the disconnection between employees and their work can't and shouldn't be hand-waved by sitting pay statistics. I wouldn't have believed it myself if not the evidence. Harvard Business Review reviewed 120 years of research from 92 quantitative studies. They found that there is a less than 2% overlap between pay and job satisfaction level. Only 2%, just imagine it. Those numbers barely deviated with each income cohort. It was similar across the board. So, take this advice. Those of you looking for a new job because you're seeking better pay should do it because you want better pay, but don't expect that the increased pay will relieve the feeling of being unengaged with your work. What's worse is that increased pay won't counteract the emotional toll that comes from being unengaged with your work. Go ahead, think about it for a minute. Think about how many times you've moved from one company to another. They're a brief honeymoon as things feel different and new, but in 6, sometimes 9 months, you're earning a little more but feeling the same as you did before. Now you're in the negative feedback loop. Feeling unengaged, changing jobs, feeling unengaged, then blaming yourself for feeling unengaged. Either of you feel engaged or you don't. Blaming yourself for it won't change that. It's not you. You're not alone. Unmotivated employees cost businesses over $450 billion annually. That image you have of a managers in a smoky room, rubbing the bald patches of their heads, chopping cigars, lines of the forever frowns on their faces, they're saying, "These kids, I can't do anything with these kids nowadays. No drive, no motivation." Then he tells the story of how he came to this country with just the clothes on his back, 2 tin cans in his pocket, and American dream in his soul. That's going away. You see, some right thinkers started putting together this crazy hypothesis that instead of blaming employees for lack of motivation, it's their responsibility to motivate the employees. That's a fun idea, but does the data agree? Companies that actively work to motivate their employees reap significant benefits. They see a 27% increase in profits, coupled with a 50% rise in sales and 38% above average productivity boost. Just imagine it. Remember the graph I showed you before? They didn't accomplish this by throwing money at their employees and telling them to feel motivated. They did it by creating a supportive work environment. Employees who feel strong sense of belonging to their organization are 2.5 times less likely to feel burned out from their work. We'll talk about intrinsic motivation later. That's the employee side of the table. Let's talk about the entrepreneurs now. We're going to start with the numbers. 92% of small business owners have experienced mental health problems over the past 2 years. 25% of entrepreneurs reported feeling moderately burnout, while 3% felt intensely burnout. Entrepreneurs were found to have a lower risk of burnout compared to the salaried employees despite working longer hours. Followers of my channel have learned about the peculiarities of the entrepreneur's brain. Some of this is related to their dopamine system. If you haven't seen them yet, watch my previous videos to understand the blessing and the curse of the entrepreneur's brain. Entrepreneurs should consider that their motivation can and likely does differ from other employees. Let's not beat around and bush here. If your business falls apart, little Jimmy, you're hired from down the street to hand out flyers on the Fifth Avenue, is going to be in a bad shape for a week or two until he finds a new job. You, on the other hand, have a world of financial consequences that will follow you for life like angry ghosts. There is a certain hustle in your step you have when you know it's your area, and that's out of the street if you don't keep the ball rolling. But let's not forget about the little Jimmy from down the street. What if he wasn't just a mercenary that sold his services to the highest bidder? What if he didn't want your business to fold? Don't you think it'd be easier to keep your business afloat if it wasn't just you that cared if the enterprise lives or dies? What's exactly the trick, isn't it? How do we turn Jimmy from down the street, from just somebody kid that puts in exactly 20 hours a week to buy new sneakers and put gas in the tricked-out motor scooter, into someone that wants to see your company thrive? It's not an easy task. It's one of the most common requires that my specialists and I brought on the resolve. I'm going to leave a link in the video description to one of my case studies about the compensity assessment and motivation as a resource for you to learn a little bit more about it. If you're still struggling to figure out how to get your employees to turn that corner, reach out to us. It's what we do. But coming back to the business owners and employees, to an extent, the first responsibility of motivation nurturing is monitoring your condition. Yeah, I've brought this up in the past and I'll bring up it again right now. You have to prioritize your mental and psychological health. If you don't keep your hardware in proper working condition, the software can save it. If you feel bad, tired, you didn't sleep well for a long time, you feel exhausted, burned out, no one the best motivation in the world will help you. Because when we don't have enough resources to go for our everyday activities, nothing can motivate us. Specifically, very complicated meanings like belonging to something bigger than I, my mission. The first step that we should take care about is our physical condition, safety, and keeping our body in a good shape. Trying your hardest and your mental and physical capabilities aren't maintaining is like trying to earn a 100% grade when you are hard capped at 70. It takes more effort to get the same rate of return. And much in the same way that if you contact technical support because your internet service isn't working, they won't help you until you've unplugged the modem and plugged it back in. I don't want you to sabotage all your progress by finding yourself knee-deep in some of these self-defeating philosophies. The first, I'm who I am, and if I could be better, I would be. This ties in with that platitude of becoming the best version of myself. Honestly speaking, I hate this position. If you could, you will be. Best how? What's your criteria to define that? Honestly speaking, the beliefness that you can be better than you are, this is some kind of insane, because again, if you could, you would. The moment of your birth was completely out of your control. Your development followed two factors, also largely out of your control: genetics and environment. You didn't get to select your genetics like in a buffet. You couldn't influence how your neuroplasticity would be shaped. If you want to know more what neuroplasticity is, you can find the video on my channel. Or how your kindergarten teaching teaching you and cultivated a love for learning. You are who you are, and the constant ideas of the alienation pull us away from our nature. This is not my way of saying each person is perfect just the way they are. Far from it. National Geographic says that an organism is thriving when it's not only surviving in the environment, but actively flourishing, growing, reproducing successfully, and experiencing optimal health. The definition doesn't change for a single-celled organism or Elon Musk. The reproduction part, okay, that's for another time. Childbearing is a long story for another day. The rest of it, take note of the tense of this phrase. Flourishing, growing, experiencing optimal health. That is an ongoing process. You didn't flourish, hit your peak at the 17 and then quit. No, you kept going. Maybe you can't grow anymore in the direction, so you pivot and grow in another direction. Think of a child. 900 times he tried to stand up, just to fall over in new and unique ways. Sometimes it's funny. On the 1000th attempt, he balances himself on 2 feet. He's the best version of himself at that moment. But does he stop there? No, it's not enough to stand in the place. So he takes a step forward. Now that version is the best version of himself. And it will be again after he takes 2 steps. I have a video about enjoyment. You should watch it and one for more details about this. It's a good one. The second thing that exists in most of our mindsets is work-life balance. This phrase is a trap. It's based on the tenuous supposition that work is not alive and life is something outside of work. You've already invoked National Geographic, so let's talk about the rules for a second. Imagine, this is she-wolf, and she's going out to find some food for those cubes. Does she will tell those little cubes that mommy has to go to the work? That they can have one pudding each and not stay up too late playing video games? No, she just does it. It's not a separate life, it's a part of the life. I've seen a lot of diagrams and X-rays in my time. There is no special second brain in there for work and another for home. It's the same brain. It loves the same things at home as it does at work. It wants the same thing that you'd get from the time you are family, hobbies, sports, or anything you love. And you want to find the same sensation, just not necessarily by performing same activities. I'm always not a fan of the phrase "I'm not going to succeed." There is quite a bit to this one, so I'll hold off for another time. This is a little preview for things to come. When you set goals, your brain put in work building potential pathway to reach that destination. Just think about it a little bit before we meet each other in the next video. So, we've covered a lot of ground today, and as always, I want to thank you for sticking with me to the end. Our big takeaways today: money is great, we all love it. But for most of us, it's not enough to keep us motivated at work. That process comes from within by first maintaining the person so that motivation is the byproduct. Links for all my social are below. Be part of the family and comment about your experience, thoughts, or questions. And if you are struggling to foster motivation in your workplace or you want to organize the best motivation system for employees, reach out to me. I'm Marina Morgan. Thank you again for being with us and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.